So I finally watched That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Scarlet Bond, and I personally have quite mixed feelings about the movie. That's why in today's video I wanted to share some of my opinions along with what I liked and disliked about the movie. And just a warning, I will be discussing spoilers for the movie, but don't worry, I'll first start with a non-spoiler review and I'll leave a timestamp below for when the spoilers start. Also remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. To start, the overall movie was just average and it wasn't terrible but not anything mind-blowing either. The story and plot were pretty normal as well, although I do have to commend how the creators managed to maintain and align with the continuity of the main series without it feeling illogical, and they did a great job at showing us the results of Rimuru's ascension into a new Demon Lord. However, I did have issues with the pacing because it seems like certain plot points passed by too fast without giving it enough time to be explored, making certain scenes quite forgettable. Also, even though the setting of the movie in the Raja Kingdom seemed like an interesting location, they barely explored or expanded on the nation, and it was quite disappointing that the movie really lacked the usual world building and details that the series is known for. But that wasn't all. The final arc, or at least the ending of the movie, was by far the worst, and it really ruined a majority of my enjoyment, and I'll explain why later in the spoiler portion of the video. As for the characters, it felt like they wasted too much time and effort in trying to incorporate certain characters into the movie that either provides no significance to the overall narrative or they're just placed in for the sake of a cameo and to deliver a joke. It really felt forced and just takes away the mood and tone of certain scenes. Now aside from that, the new characters were quite weak as well, especially Hiro and Towa. They feel like generic character archetypes that don't really offer too much to the audience other than just being a plot device leading to the climactic ending. I mean, at least for Hiro, he had more screen time to develop, but even then his character really became disappointing later on. He just feels like a budget Benimaru. And you never feel any sense of attachment towards them because they seem to be immune to all the conflicts in the movie, especially when it came to the ending. Also, the villain Laqua was another disappointing character in the movie, and he was just so uninteresting that it made all the scenes with him quite forgettable. I barely felt any sense of urgency or threat from him because the stakes were just so low. And I think the reason that he was such a weak villain was because the creators had no idea how to write a proper villain that was capable of giving the newly awakened Rimuru a hard time. However, I'd rather they had just created a strong villain and slapped some random backstory to justify their existence than a villain like Laqua. Even Claymore was a better villain than him. They even had to dumb down Rimuru's character by making him more incompetent and careless just to accommodate Laqua's level and make their fight less one-sided. This approach really made Rimuru felt like the bad guy, and through most of the movie, Rimuru seemed like he was barely trying or uninterested, and he even rarely uses Wisdom King Raphael to solve some of the issues that happened. That said, on the visual side of things, Scarlet Bond was certainly a step up from the main anime with the production quality because of the larger budget, but it wasn't anything crazy and still had some minor flaws to certain scenes. For example, whenever they're trying to animate the weapons of certain characters in the movie, the models would sometimes shift in sizes or the ratio would look weird when you see it from certain angles. But that's only a minor complaint, although I did enjoy the way they utilized a ton of dynamic camera movements in the action scenes to make them feel more fluid and smooth. The character designs along with the background also look much more sharper and detailed. So with that, let's move on to the spoiler section and click on the timestamp below to skip this segment. Now in the movie, we are introduced to Hiro right away and learn about why he was absent when the ogre village was attacked by the Orc disaster. He was actually working as a mercenary and had come into the employment of Demon Lord Claymon, but after finding out that the Orc disaster was about to attack his village, he deserted Claymon's army and tried to warn his comrades. However, he was hunted down by Yamza, one of Claymon's 5 fingers, and he was left for dead. Luckily, he was discovered by the subordinates of Queen Towa and brought back to the Raja Kingdom, but his wounds were too great and the only way to save him was for him to evolve, so Towa gave him the name of Hiro. After the naming, he evolved into a Kijin, which healed all of his wounds, and he immediately left for his village only to find out that he was too late. Thinking he was the only one left, he vowed revenge on the Orcs and decided to serve Towa while he searched for the Orcs that destroyed his village. However, when things started to fall apart for Queen Towa and the Raja Kingdom, Hiro went to the Jura Temples Federation to seek aid from Rimuru Temples, and during his travel, he runs into Gelt and the Orcs, so he attacked them in order to seek revenge. This encounter was actually one of my favorite moments in the movie because of the animation and also the idea that actions all have consequences. And although Gelt was forgiven by Benimaru and the others, the stigma of the Orcs and the memories of the ogre village will still remain. Seeing how he still held a deep regret for the sins of his people, and after realizing that Hiro was part of the ogre village, he was willing to give up his life to atone for their actions, and it was just such an impactful scene. But before Hiro could deal the final blow, Benimaru arrived just in time to stop him and explain everything, although I felt like the resolution happened too fast with Hiro agreeing to forgive Gelt without much resistance. But aside from that, I did enjoy the wholesome reunion between Hiro and the other Kijins as well, although I personally would have liked if the movie actually decided to expand more on their relationship, because afterwards they barely had any meaningful interactions. That said, Rimuru agrees to help Hiro, so they left for the Raja Kingdom, and of course it wasn't surprising that he was able to easily solve all the issues plaguing the nation and their queen. Now basically it was after this portion of the story that things started to become quite disappointing and stale. However, Rimuru's discovery of the ancient magic circle and Diablo facing the creator of the magic circle was probably the most interesting moment in the movie, because we got the introduction of the purple primordial violet, or most of you might know her as Ultima. Their fight was really well done and amazingly animated, and it was a glorious experience seeing how cocky and overpowered Diablo was compared to Ultima, so as a fan of Diablo, it was definitely a highlight. Also, this particular encounter provided some much needed backstory and exploration of the Raja Kingdom that I felt was lacking. It was definitely interesting to find out about the origin of the magical tiara worn by Towa, and the deal the royal family had made with Violet was definitely on brand for a character. Additionally, I can't believe they even included Vera and Zona as well, the two demon lieutenants of Ultima. But anyways, everything after the review of Violet was utterly terrible, especially the final arc of the movie, because the creators were just unable to close out or introduce the villain to the story in an interesting and meaningful way. This is likely because Laqua came into the story too late after Rimuru had resolved all the issues of the Raja Kingdom, so it just felt like he was a plot device added in only for the sake of creating conflict for the other characters. And even then, he just didn't seem to offer much to the overall narrative, and his motivations were also too inconsistent. At first, he wanted to earn favor from Queen Towa, but later he just wanted to force Towa to use her tiara so that she would become a vessel for his master Violet. And I understand that subverting the expectations of the audience will sometimes be impactful to the story, but for Laqua, it simply feels forced and uninspired, probably because he behaves like a generic mustache-twirling villain. Now, aside from Laqua, the final arc of the movie also handled both Rimuru and Hiro's character very badly. Both were highly competent and rational at the start of the movie, but somehow turned into careless idiots later on. Like, Hiro blindly listened to what Laqua has to say without questioning his methods when he could have easily asked Benimaru for help. And for Rimuru, I don't understand why he intentionally dragged on the battle with Laqua, and you could tell that he was just messing around instead of quickly ending the battle to assist Benimaru. Maybe Hiro might not even have to die. Which brings me to my next point. If they had planned on resurrecting Hiro after his sacrifice and just throw away all the development of his character, then why have him die in the first place? I'd rather they just have Rimuru save him and avoid the resurrection altogether. Because by taking away his death, it felt like his actions were not even important and there were no consequences to his choices in the end. It really hampered his impact on the story and made his character even more boring. And what's worse, they had the audacity to do it again literally a few minutes after his resurrection when Towa died trying to save him. I get that they probably wanted to use his resurrection as an excuse to destroy the tiara, but since Diablo already resolved that issue with Ultima, it was completely pointless. And why resurrect her afterwards? I think out of everyone that deserves to die in the movie, Towa deserves it the most because from a narrative standpoint, her death will be the most impactful to the characters and story, especially for helping Hiro to grow as a character. And even if her death wasn't significant, having the characters die and then resurrecting them through the use of a Deus Ex Machina to create a forceful ending that is wholesome is just lazy and bad writing. That's why no matter how much I enjoyed the movie initially, the final arc utterly ruined my experience because everything just felt pointless in the end. Scarlet Bond definitely had the potential to be a great movie if they were able to handle the final arc better and focus on writing a more cohesive story and stronger characters because they were the major causes for the movie's disappointing performance. Honestly, this movie is decent, but it isn't worth intentionally going out of your way to watch, although if you just want to find something to pass the time or you just want to see Diablo in action, then sure, why not, give this a watch. However, the comedy, animation and certain moments in the movie were still amazing to watch, but overall, this was still a forgettable movie that lacks the core essence of what made the main Tezzera series good. And personally, I would rate the movie a threat level of rank B- or 6 Rimurus out of 10.
突然現れた男、ヒーロー。彼はオーガの生き残りで、かつてベニマル
But anyways, this was my review on That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Scarlet Bond, and be sure to let me know what you think of the movie and whether or not you have watched it yet in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button for more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.